So how do we use the net present value rules? We normally organize the cash flow and compute the NPV. So we can take it or leave it decision, right? So for example, we can explain this with an example. So let's say there is an example of fertilizer company that is going to create an environmental friendly fertilizer, and it will help them to have some savings in the future. Now the cost of setting up the factory is $81.6, and the estimated return on this fertilizer is that it will be able to save 28 millions after that, and it will be able to do that for 4 years. Means the project life is only 4 years. We are assuming after 4 years will be no salvage value, there is no project value after this. So normally the first step in calculating the net present value is organize the cash flow in a timeline basis. So here you can see we have arranged this on a timeline basis. Year 1 we are spending 81.6, that's why it's minus. And then year 1, year 2, year 3, year 4 is $28 plus $28 million plus each. How do we calculate present value? We have to assume a rate of interest, right? So let's say the rate of interest is 8%. Then we can use this to calculate the net present value by using this formula. So the first outflow will not be discounted. Second 28 millions will be divided by 1 plus R, because it's only one compounding 1 year. Then the second year will be 28 divided by 1 plus R2. 2 is for 2-year compounding. We will be looking at the compounding and non-compounding in another lecture, which is called time value of money. For the purpose of this lecture, we will be using the term as compounding. Like third year will be 1 plus R compounded by 3, and fourth year will be 28 divided by 1 plus R compounded by 4. Or you can use the annuity. That's also a simple method, because 28 is the same amount, so you can effectively use an annuity method. So if let's say the cost of capital is 10%, the net present value is 7.2 million, and then we should be able to take the project. Now, what are the challenges in these and net present value? There are challenges because one, there are few uncertain things in the net present value. One is the estimated cash inflows. Outflow we know now for sure, pretty much sure. But the inflows, we are not 100% sure. We are estimating the future returns from the project, right? And the second thing we are estimating is the cost of capital. Now, cost of capital for each company is different, right? It depends on how you are getting the money. In the cost of capital lecture, you will be able to see how we have calculated the cost of capital. So cost of capital depends on the opportunity cost of capital, expected return by the shareholders, risk in the project. There are multiple factors which undertakes to define the cost of capital, which will be used as a discounting factor for calculating the net present value. That is a very complex, and in real life is not that easy, because to understand the project's risk is very difficult. One thing, understanding how the project will be financed again is a issue. So there are some estimations that are used in the net present value, but in real life usually we compare that, okay, if we have to borrow the money, what is our rate of return, and then normally that plus some risk element, and we have to add, because you cannot just discount at the borrowing rate, right? There is a risk in the project. So usually you have to calculate some kind of risk, so that you have to how much percent you have to add. Normally there are discount rates which are given for different countries and different projects. Government projects will have less risk, so they have a lower discounting rate. Private projects will have a higher risk, and thus they have a higher discounting. Countries with politically unstable future, or unstable economic outlook, normally will require higher discount rate, because the risk is higher in those projects. The countries which are stable, like Europe or US, where the interest rates are also very low, the business outlook is good, the political outlook is stable, you may use a lower discounting factor. But for example, Middle East, Asian countries, some Asian countries, the economic outlook is not very good. So you may be, so the investors usually look for higher risk, higher rate of return. So projects in those countries will require different discounting rate. When you are evaluating the project, you have to be very, very careful in what rate you are choosing for discounting. Lower rate will increase the net present value. Higher rate will decrease the net present value. So you may falsely accept the project or falsely reject the project.